Hey everyone, welcome to Ink Scribes, the comics podcast where we discuss the art and craft of comics. I'm Colin Singh, an aspiring comics artist and lifelong student of the craft. And joining me are my co hosts, Eric Zawadzki, the artist on Assorted Crisis Events, coming now from Image Comics, and Taylor Stauft, the creator, writer, and artist on From Fire and Blood, a Jason Jang adventure, and coming soon in the anthology Faster Than Light Volume 2, the Kickstarter pre-launch page out now in the description below with his story Luke Zenith's Wedding Day. Today, a very special episode, the first in a mini or multi-part episode dissection of the career of the comics master, late great John Cassaday. In his far too short career, John Cassaday produced some of the most memorable comics in modern history. Specifically, like his run on X-Men with Joss Whedon and his creator-owned book Planetary, which is one of my personal top 10 favorites of all time, with Warren Ellis. And today we're going to be looking specifically at 10 short stories, including his very first published work from Negative Burn 28, published in 1995, 30 years ago. And these were all handpicked by my bro Eric. So, Eric, besides the first published work, what's the idea behind the others?
I just wanted to provide the scope of his comics career, and these are basically all the short stories that I could find. So these are basically 10 short stories that span his entire career. And I should say that these comics are all the stuff in between his major works. But I do think it's an interesting selection because it does show off the scope of his comics career. And yeah, we've got a lot of interesting stuff from his very first, or one of his very first works, from 1995 all the way to, I believe, when was this one? 2022? 2021?
Action Comics 1000. I want to.
2018. So,
18, damn.
so this stuff spans from 1995 to 2018. Yeah, you guys had a chance to read all this stuff. So, what did you guys think of seeing his entire career through all these short stories?
There's a clear evolution. Off the bat. I'll say that, like, from his first short story in Negative Burn, which, I mean, you can tell. The thing is, when you follow an artist's career, it's very apparent. I'm going to bring it up specifically in Cassaday's career, where an artist from year one to year 30 or 40 or 50, when they get their first break, it's like there's so many factors at play. One, they're rushing to meet the deadline because it's their first work. Two, they're trying to employ all the skills that they have. They're always firing on all cylinders to the best of their ability for that short story or first issue or whatever the case may be. And all those things can be or taken into account looking at Negative Burn. From there, though, what's the last one we're going to look at? It's Action Comics so Action Comics, and there's a Captain America one that we're going to look at. Like, you can see that's A-list art, right? That's $1 million budget comics right there, right? Like, he goes from A all the way to Z.
Yeah, but you can still see the things that he will be known for, or the things that all of us will catch. I'm thinking specifically of, like, the way he does eyes, so specific, and you can see it.
And hands too.
Yeah. But it's also great to see the evolution of, like, well, how does he do everything from, like, shading to poses to dynamism? Like, he just keeps growing and growing and growing. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have a growing list of Cassaday-isms, which I can think of like 3 or 4 right off the bat, but maybe
what's the number one? It's this. It's bet you it's the same one I'm gonna say.
No, I don't think so. I know what you think the number one is,
okay,
but
we'll talk about it later then.
But they're probably equivalent in how. Well, actually, I don't know. But yeah, let's just start off with the Negative Burn number 28. Now, I should say this is not his first work. I'll just put this stuff away. So his very first work was with Boneyard Press. He did a short story in Build a Bull, One Shot, One Bourbon, One Beer, #1. And then he did several other stories for Boneyard Press in a comic called Flowers of the Razor Wire. All that stuff, I think, was written by Hart D. Fisher. And so was the short story in this Negative Burn. So his earliest work, he did several stories with Hart D. Fisher.
Can I ask? I'm
And
going to ask real quick then. Did he? So Hart Fisher gave him his first big break, right?
I it depends on your definition of big break, because he hasn't done a lot of interviews, but he was asked what was your first big break, and he mentions the stuff after this, which is basically when he was discovered by Dark Horse.
Okay.
So he didn't consider this his big break.
Well, the reason I ask is just because Hart Fisher's a well-documented unruly character. So if
Unruly.
Cassaday, if Fisher gave him his first big break, then Fisher would have obviously been one of the first professional creators that he ever met, right? So I was wondering if he got into any trouble with him on the side or anything like that.
And to be honest, I don't know a ton about John Cassaday, because he didn't do a lot of interviews, or at least I couldn't
That is
find a
true,
lot of
yeah.
interviews. So
Right.
most of this episode is just going to be discussing the work, because I don't know a lot about the man himself.
Mm.
But before we get into the Cassaday work, I just want to show off the great early Andrew Robinson work. Like,
Ooh.
Oh yeah, yeah.
just amazing work. And I should say Andrew Robinson did the cover.
Did that all get collected into a Dusty Star 0 or #1?
I'm not entirely sure, but you have some Dusty Star comics, right, Colin?
I have #1. I think 0 is the reprint issue. Well, not a reprint, excuse me, but it collects the Negative Burn stuff. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
This has Brian Boland work. It has an
yeah,
Alan Moore songbook. So
yeah.
yeah,
I've got a couple of
Negative
Negative
Burn,
Burn
an
trades.
interesting anthology.
Yeah.
But let's get to the
Same as
Cassaday
A1.
material.
Same vein, anyway.
Where are we?
We got to do an A1
Okay.
episode.
Okay, so here we have the earliest John Cassaday work that I own, at least, and I would not have been able to tell this was John Cassaday if I were asked to guess.
I think there's a panel in here that makes
Yes,
it very obvious.
I'm thinking of the same panel.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
Are you
But
talking
right
about?
off
I
the
will
bat,
say
you're right.
it's very clearly John Cassaday, but I don't know if I would have still guessed if blind taste test. You guys would have?
No. Like especially all the earlier pages before it, I don't think I would have clocked it at all. I would have thought like, oh, okay, yeah, this is somebody trying their best. Good for them.
Well, I will say, without knowing who did it, I can tell you the influences that I can see off the bat. I think a Jeff
Really?
Darrow is an influence for sure.
Oh, because I was gonna bring up later on that I can't see any of his influences, but
Jeff Darrow,
now that
though.
you bring it up, I do see some Jeff Darrow. Interesting, because this is a clean line, or Lin Claire, as they say in France.
Yeah.
This is a clean line style, which that's John Cassaday. His work is generally not clean line.
No.
Towards the
But
end of the story, though, well,
yeah, you're right. Actually, it does get
it's
a
a little
little
bit,
more
yeah, a little bit
noir, I guess.
noir. Yeah, I was gonna say noir, but also like now he starts employing little tricks here and there, like silhouettes and a lot of blacks. Just like, was it a deadline thing or was it a creative choice? Like
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I can totally see that, because like it looks like he put a lot of time into these 2 pages here.
It
exactly.
works
That's
thematically,
And then
there is a shift,
but
right?
it works
and then
thematically
suddenly,
for the story, right? For like he realizes
yeah, good point.
what's going on, and then suddenly, oh yeah, the shadows.
Well, yeah, I mean, it looks like a kindly old man, right?
Yeah.
This looks like a pleasant scene. He's just got a sweet tooth, I suppose. And I should say the story is incredibly simple. It's basically a creep gets violently killed. That's
Yeah, I
that's
thought
the summation.
I figured it was like, who's the DC version of the Punisher? He's like the assassin or something like that. Hitman,
Vigilante,
something like. Maybe no, he's got like the shades and the long trench coat.
Hitman.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
kills superheroes for money. Yeah.
yeah. I thought for sure it was going to turn out to be like a stealth. Like, oh, we filed the serial numbers off of Hitman and made a story about it.
Right.
So I just want to say right off the bat that this is the most amount of backgrounds that we will probably see out of the entire work we're going to look at today.
That's what it is. Yes, I kept thinking, what is setting this apart so much? And you're right. It's the backgrounds.
I do get the sense that he didn't really love drawing backgrounds,
I
which
mean,
we'll see more so as we go on. But which is why it's surprising that he's drawing every brick and he's putting filling every shelf in this grocery store. But I mean,
I think when
he
it
didn't
comes
keep up with it.
to I think when it comes to backgrounds, it is something that you kind of need drilled into you. I have a distinct memory of being chastised by a ancient art professor about backgrounds, saying even if it's just a line that indicates the where the floor and the wall meet, that's better than nothing. Just put something in. You can't have figures free floating.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that Colin brings up Jeff Darrow because I don't think
Mhm.
Jeff Darrow had to be lectured on that. I think
Probably
some
not.
people just take to it very easily and some don't. And I mean, it's very clear that it's not Cassaday's favorite part of the job.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I'm guessing this is the panel you were talking about, Taylor.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was
I
going to
don't
say actually. Sorry, go ahead, Taylor.
no, it's just the pose.
yeah,
I can't place it. It's just it that will appear over and over and over again.
Definitely, yeah.
yeah. There's something very familiar about that particular punch,
Yeah.
and just how the body language is
It's the
unusual.
foot and like the foot to the side and the leg straight out. And what were you gonna
Like,
say, Colin?
well, for, before actually, it just came to me now. Before I get into what I was gonna say, who did the lettering on this?
Oh, good question.
Oh, I couldn't find a credit for that.
Okay.
Um, or here, let me see. Actually, Juju Eyes,
Yeah, I couldn't find a
illustrated
credit
by
for it
John
either.
Cassaday and Frank Forte. Did somebody else ink this? I don't know who Frank Forte is.
Me
Oh,
neither.
interesting.
But who lettered
Maybe
this?
maybe this is the only work that he didn't ink himself, but I'm not sure. And it definitely doesn't look like his inking.
Okay,
No.
But I
that
mean,
the crunked sound effect. Crunked. Just
yeah,
don't your
Oh
lips
yeah.
curl back? Just even the font size and everything.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It does stand out
What?
as like this is from a completely different
Come
comic.
on, man. Come on. Come on. But what I was going to say is that the last two pages are the most familiar Cassaday pages, I would say. It's got the use of the Dutch angle,
yeah,
which is one trick that Cassaday has employed time and time again and masterfully.
yeah, right
Like,
here.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. He doesn't overdo it. He uses it
the last
just the
page
right
as
amount.
well, the first and second panels. Actually, I want to say about the layout first of all. Panel two, the way it comes down about an inch and then it comes back up with the
Mm,
motion of him stabbing.
Oh
So
yeah,
when he stabs in panel one, and as his fist comes back up, but the panel being lower, you get the motion again as you come back up with the spatter of blood in panel three, right?
yep.
That's just amazing. But at the same time, the panel one and two, like he's got these panels of characters, throwing punches and different compositions of action shots, and I've seen these before, panel one and panel two specifically, and we'll probably see them later on too.
Yeah. So we'll say that I guess you think Dutch angles are his like trademark, his number one quality that you think about.
To me, I can only speak for
Yeah.
myself, right?
Well, yeah, and
But
we were speaking earlier. What I think the flat 1 point symmetrical composition is the thing I associate with him the most because it is just all over his work.
mm,
Hmm. That's
And so something like this, which the figures aren't symmetrical, but the background is almost, and it just shows up in his work frequently.
that's an interesting point. Okay, that's a preview for the art I've done for this episode, unintentionally,
Unintentionally,
unintentionally. But
as a tribute to John
I,
Cassaday.
I must have picked up on something. Yeah.
It was unconscious. So the next work was so I'll say this was 1995, and then this was 2 years later when Marvel was doing these -1 issues. This is 1997. In between that, he, I guess, was wandering around with a portfolio at various conventions, and Dark Horse hired him to do a bunch of Ghost covers and a fill-in issue on Ghost, and he says that was his big break.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and Mark Waid also saw a portfolio review of his in like 1996, and yeah, this comic was written by Mark Waid and Todd DeZago, I believe. Where's the credit? But yeah, so uh, Mark Waid discovered him at a convention too. Although Mark Waid says that, and I quote, "I refuse to take any real credit for discovering John Cassaday. I can't take credit for having functioning eyeballs."
Did they work on what is it? Incorruptible or
well, he did
No.
covers for not incorruptible. It was
the other one though?
irredeemable or something like that.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the thing about John Cassaday is, man, he has not worked on a lot of comics. Like he's got his 25 issues of Astonishing X-Men and 27 issues of Planetary, and then a scattershot bunch of comics from there.
yeah.
You got
6 issues on Uncanny Avengers. Um,
or even less than that, probably only 4, and then like 3 issues of Star Wars, and
right,
then
right.
It was
5
it was
issues of
it was
Desperados, and
5 on
then
Uncanny because 6 is done by Coipel.
right,
Right.
And then just a whole bunch of scattershot stuff here and there.
Yeah, but when you're swinging Astonishing X-Men and fucking Planetary, like
Yeah.
you don't need to do anything else, right? You're cemented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he became a regular cover artist, and also he dabbled in Hollywood quite a bit, which he says that film was an equal passion to comics. So
I think we can all identify with that
Hmm.
to some degree, right?
yeah, something I want to bring up is that he inked himself, which throughout his entire career he inked himself. But this is 1997,
Mm.
and it was not very common for a comic to have a penciler and that penciler also inking themselves. All the
No,
rules were clearly established just because, it's an assembly line process and it's just safer to have multiple people working on the comic.
right.
Uh, I'm wondering, how did he convince the editor that he can ink his own work?
That's a good question because you're right. It's a like this is Marvel at their most like assembly line production point as well. Like a year from now, they'll declare bankruptcy and have to downsize and kind of rethink what they're doing. But this is them just like, ha ha, we'll never die. Let's go. So yeah. So how do you
Well,
convince
you know,
them
I,
to
I
do
would
that?
like to think in a glamorous story that, he just handed in the pages inked and he said, I also want the inkers right. Or something to that
Uh,
effect. He still met his penciler deadline and
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine his portfolio was all inked, and
yeah. If you go in with like, oh no, penciled and inked this all myself. And Dark Horse didn't seem to mind when I did it in Ghost or whatever.
Yeah, and oftentimes you hear stories at this time of editors saying pick a lane. Like if you want to be a penciler, don't have inks in your portfolio. If you want to be an inker, don't pencil your own stuff. Um, but yeah, so somehow he convinced the editor that he can do it. I have heard stories even going back to those times where like pencilers would request the option, hey, can I ink myself? And they're just flat out told no. So what it comes down to is I think he just impressed the right people, and he also probably did a good job. He probably handed his stuff in on time, and that like
He would have had to, right? Because
yeah,
the thing is too is that there's a bonus for it for him. He'll get the original art back, and there's no 3-to-1 or 2-to-1 sharing
yeah.
with an inker. And they might be thinking, okay, yeah, if you want the pages of a Ka-Zar story back, sure, go ahead.
Well, the story behind Ka-Zar being a comic was that Heroes Reborn was going on, and
Okay.
all the regular editors, the big books were taken away from them and
Right.
given to another studio. Like
Mhm.
Wildstorm and Extreme Studios had Fantastic Four and Iron Man and
Avengers, Captain America.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so the editors who were actually in the office at Marvel had to come up with comics to fill the gap, and so they brought back Heroes for Hire and Ka-Zar and created Thunderbolts.
That
And
explains a lot. Yeah.
so this is interesting because, like, again, the most detailed pages are right up front, but
Hmm.
that's probably because there's like an info dump going on. Yeah, we got some Kirby dots going on here, which is interesting. Do you guys recall a lot of Kirby dots like in his work going forward, or is this like an anomaly?
Mm,
That that feels like an anomaly, just because most of the stuff I'm familiar with is post 2000 when computers are used a lot more.
I would say though, this is a -1, right? The Marvel event
Yeah.
-1. So that whole the look of that line was very Kirby-esque across the
Oh,
board,
good point.
Oh,
Good point.
right?
Yeah, you got
So
to have a bit of Stan Lee and a bit of
right.
Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
yeah,
So it could have been just a one-off thing because in Planetary, he did a lot of different stuff in Planetary, but
that's true. Yeah,
the Kirby Crackle, maybe not. Like it's not coming to me now. I didn't revisit it before this episode, so I can't say for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if he was or it wasn't, right?
yeah, you're right, because he did he was doing stuff through time, especially through like the history of comics, which is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there he had to have done it at least once during, I don't know, the Marvel arc or the Marvel episode, or I don't know, one of the pulp things that they did.
Yeah.
I I should say that he does a really good saber-tooth tiger with Zabu,
Yeah.
which is not easy.
He's
Like good
also
writing there.
he's also not scrimping on that jungle action there. Like
Yeah.
getting a thick
Yeah.
kind of enclosed jungle feel
Yeah, I
is,
mean, look at this.
yeah,
Look
just
at how
like
much
all that you
detail
have to
is.
put in. Like it's not just vines; it's shit growing off and hanging off those vines, that sort of thing. Like you really got to go all in on it.
Is this
Yeah,
his
and this is
first
such a
Marvel work?
good
It is, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So if it's his first Marvel work too, he's got to be firing on
Oh yeah,
all cylinders, right?
Yeah,
there's so much pressure. It's just like
Yeah.
I need to impress,
doesn't know
right?
what he can or can't get away with yet.
And like looking at this looks like he's trying to impress.
Yeah.
Like with the amount of flora he's putting on there.
Hmm.
And it's busy, but the composition is great because he creates a lot of negative space here and here. So your eyes go directly to the figures, but you have
Yeah.
so much detail going on there. So it's crazy how expert level this looks so early in his career, and also a big jump from this comic.
I
This
was
is a
gonna
huge
say,
jump.
yeah, he's avoiding. I noticed a few tangents in the like a little uncomfortable tangents in the negative burn episode, but he's that's not really happening here. which you would think would happen with such busy backgrounds, but no.
I'm going to ask Eric, because
Look at
it
those
was
state of the art
in the
graphics.
2 years there from 95 and 97. I know he didn't do very many interviews, but do you have any inkling of what his process was? Was he using Photoshop a lot or no? Or was this purely pen and ink?
Oh, I
Fresh.
mean, he's a traditional guy through and through. In interviews, he talks about how he uses a little bit of Photoshop at the end of the process, but he
Really?
just loves traditional. And I doubt he was using it this early on.
Mm,
In 1997, Photoshop was still pretty niche,
yeah.
Yeah,
very new.
you needed a real expensive rig to run it.
Yeah, it was the kind of thing that only really colorists had, I think.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember Corel Draw?
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad got Corel Draw from me and my brother when we were like 14, 12. And I couldn't make any sense of it, to be honest. Drawing with a mouse sucks.
Yeah, it does. I remember the first time I got just a shitty bamboo tablet, and I was like, "Oh, I see now. I know.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it."
Uh, it is interesting because he's basically found himself with this. Like these look like Cassaday faces.
Yeah, they're a little rough, but yeah, like the way he does like the nose to brow connection and the way
Mm,
eyes sit on a skull, and yeah, it's very the way he's willing to drop lines out to give the impression of light hitting something.
mm.
And just the lips and the nose are
Yes.
just like classic John Cassaday. Like it's so weird how quickly he found himself because this is like undoubtedly John Cassaday, unlike the previous comic we looked at.
Yeah.
And he is slowly learning that, like, yeah, again, he's front loaded a lot of detail, and then by the end there's the deadline is looming, and you know
That's not a bad strategy though, considering like if he's already set what a jungle looks like in the reader's mind, he could be feeling more comfortable with like, you know what's there. Come on.
yeah, you establish everything up front, and you get a little more leeway towards the end.
Yeah.
So would you guys agree then that, comparing him to, artists like Barry Windsor Smith or Frank Miller, where there's a clear evolution in the way they draw figures and the way they draw faces from their first work to their last, whereas Cassaday found what he was very early on and it was consistent throughout his career. I mean, he got better and
Absolutely.
better, but it's like
Yeah.
the more unmistakable his work was, that you could even just look at a thumbnail or a panel and you're like, oh, that's a Cassaday panel, for sure. If you look in the solicitations, you see that one thumbnail of the cover and you're like, that's a Cassaday cover for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you noticed that he that earlier work was seemed to be influenced by Jeff Darrow, but I don't see a lot of Jeff Darrow in this work. And
No.
honestly, I can't see any influences. Like he is just purely himself. And
Yes.
I'm obviously everybody's influenced by somebody, but I just don't see anything. I can't pick it out unless you guys can. Like, or do you guys see the same thing I'm seeing?
Yeah, I think we're all seeing like, yeah, he has a clear vision of what he wants, and he's going all in on it.
Yeah, in the '90s, it felt like everybody was trying to be like Jim Lee, and then towards the end, a lot of people were trying to be Joe Mad.
I was gonna say, yeah, like Joe Mad is somebody who we will see. Check out our Joe Mad episodes and the upcoming ones about like the progression of figuring out what they like and what they're good at and how they want to do things. But I think
Like you can see,
you're right, Colin. This is like he's ready to go.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean, looking at that comic from far away, you can see that uh, the influence from American comic artists like George Perez or it's a bit of a reach, but maybe Gary Frank, just from looking at some of the faces and some of the figure work. But it's in his style is the main thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Well, but the main thing I'm trying to hit on is he wasn't trying to be anybody else. Whereas you had a lot of people trying to be Jim Lee or trying to be
Right.
you in Extreme Studios, everybody's trying to be Rob Liefeld. At Wildstorm, everybody's trying to be Jim Lee. Even the um, Gaijin Studios guys had a similar vibe, but he's purely himself, and very early on in his career. He also, around this time, got work at DC Comics. So this is interesting because, as I was saying, he did some work for Marvel, and then he also did some work for DC. So he worked on this Flash annual. Clearly, couldn't convince the editor to ink it himself because he got Steve Lytle as the inker on here. So again, I don't know the story behind that, but it is interesting to note.
which is I gotta say, I don't know that it's. Maybe they went with somebody who has a light touch because it still feels very Cassaday.
Yeah, and this Marvel comic in some ways doesn't because you've there were these like heavy outlines around characters right here, which does not feel
Mhm.
like how Cassaday inks himself, but yeah, in a way, this feels more like how he goes on to ink himself later on.
Yeah, maybe pick something up.
Steve Lytle, like he was a penciler for a lot of Marvel comics too,
Oh,
and
okay.
his style was more of the realistic style, more so than the exaggerated cartoony way. So his inking style must have just lent itself naturally to Cassaday.
Yeah, because Cassaday has a very real people shoe
Yeah,
leather.
real people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like he's very
yeah,
good at drawing.
highly representative, I think is
Mm.
the technical term.
He's just really good at drawing clothing,
Yeah,
just
yeah, he
regular
is.
people in clothing, which
Yeah,
again, speaking about the 90s, like oftentimes you'd get someone in a suit and it just looked like muscles with a suit over top, because
yeah,
a
Drawn
lot of
on
90s
team.
artists, yeah, a lot of artists couldn't draw clothing.
yeah.
But
The
yeah, I mean,
folds of
he's
clothes. One of the things, I mean, the Cassaday-isms. One of the things I think of is the way this is so small, but the way pants pool at the when they come into contact with shoes.
Mm.
oh yeah, well
He's
that
just like
yeah,
very
that's not a good
specific
example
about,
because they're
no, no, that's not
round.
how that fabric would hang, or that's not the weight of that fabric. So it would have to be like, yeah, it folds, or it uh, hangs loosely, or he just has a good feel for the material that he's communicating.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm picturing a lot of that in Planetary with
Yeah,
Winter.
Elijah
Elijah.
Snow.
Yeah,
Elijah Snow, yeah, Winter. What am I thinking? But what is up with this? Like the page has been shrunk down, and there's this like
that is weird.
big border
Yeah,
around. Very
I noticed
strange.
that too. It bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
No,
what
when
are you
you like
doing?
something is amiss. Like what this looks like it was rushed in some way. What's going on here, right?
Yeah,
Is this a
So
reprint?
yeah, a lot of limited backgrounds, which is common in his work. Like, and a lot of the stuff isn't necessary. Like he establishes, or does he? Um, yeah, he establishes this building and right here, and then for the rest of the comic, it feels like there's just a broken wall in the background.
yeah,
A
yeah,
lot
but
of a way of saving time because you got to meet your deadlines, and drawing a page is no joke. It's a lot of work.
yeah,
He
yeah, but
also does a lot of this stuff.
he's
Sorry,
really
what were you gonna say?
focused on. I can appreciate why he's dropping backgrounds out, though. He's really focused on the minute changes of characters' face. Like they're quite close,
Yes.
Yeah,
and he's doing a lot of acting here. So
very good point.
maybe you don't need him. Need backgrounds. It would just distract from what he's doing.
Yeah, and I mean, also he, as you said earlier, he's a very good designer,
Yeah.
and there can be situations where like too many backgrounds can ruin the design of a page. There are ways to make it work, but I mean, as I said earlier, I just don't think he really likes drawing backgrounds. So he uses his design sense to make up for that, which he has a very strong design sense. And I think if you have a strong design sense, then you can get away with a lot of stuff, like not showing a lot of backgrounds.
Well, and a lot of this is taking place in a mall. He's really playing on, because this is like the height of malls in North America. Like, we all know what malls look like, right? They're kind of big, empty, open spaces. Like, unless the actual interior architecture of a mall is going to come into place, like, the end of Police Story, do you really need to show a lot of it?
Yeah, it's a good point. Looking at this page, clearly he's creating a lot of texture there, and it looks like he's, if I were to guess, using an X-Acto knife to like cut out the lines. But then again, he didn't ink this himself, so I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, because shaded, like textured shadow is something that will become, I think it becomes more apparent as he goes, but I wonder if he's trying to play with that here, like kind of figure out how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say when he's not the inker, because I think this is one of the only comics I've read where he isn't the inker. This sort of I guess destruction where you've got concentric circles of like broken concrete. I think I've seen a lot of that in his work.
Yeah, there's a lot in. I feel like there's a lot every time Jaquita Wagner lands something.
Yeah, yeah. I was saving that for the Planetary episode.
But I mean,
cut that out then.
Yeah. No, it's a little preview.
Yeah. This is an interesting thing where he has this black bar at the end just to end it. Yeah, very interesting, because he's not generally an experimental. Generally, he keeps to grids and wide panels. He's not really super experimental with his panel arrangements.
It does feel very early 90s and weirdly kind of the 2010s, where it's like, oh, I'm going to use this structure to direct your eye around.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what, I don't fully understand it, but it's interesting looking.
Because I get like the black panel being the end, right? Like I can see how why he would try that. I'm not sure it's completely successful, but I don't know why it would extend to the majority of the page.
There was right here he did a little bit of that as well. So this one actually kind of works, even though I don't fully understand like why is that
why
there.
do that? Maybe he's just trying it out though.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a designer at heart, and he was probably just playing with page design, but yeah, I don't know.
What is up with does anybody know what is up with the coloring of James, the James character on the final page?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Flash guy. I don't know enough about Flash, so I was confused throughout a lot of this stuff. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, are any of you guys big Flash followers? Like maybe somebody who knows Flash would understand this.
Yeah, if anybody knows, let us know in the comments, because this is baffling.
Colin, do you have any idea?
No, well, no. I mean, I've read Flash comics, but I can't. This guy's not ringing a bell. I just it could be that he's just dead, and they're using red to illustrate he's a ghost now.
That's what I was thinking, but it's the dialogue or the captions really make it clear. No, he's still alive. Everything's worked out for this kid. Like his husband is fine. His ex-boyfriend is being taken away to prison again. It's working out. So I don't understand why it would be bright red. But
Yeah.
maybe it's just a production error that DC looked at and said, that's not worth fixing.
You know,
Yeah, and
I don't want to sound like an idiot to the audience. There must be
yeah.
some guy watching this, and he's like, "I've read that. No, it's actually this guy," or whatever the case.
Yeah, I'm sure it's incredibly obvious, and we just read it wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to hide it by saying like I really wasn't. I mean, I don't know if it's hiding it, but I just wasn't feeling this comic. I was not really into it.
No.
It felt very continuity heavy, and
Yeah.
which is one of the big problems with a lot of these comics. Like you had to read like you have to read like 10 Flash comics to appreciate it or something, and yeah, I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah. It's aggressively fine. I'm sure it takes up space on the 5th week of a month, so sure.
You gotta love this John Cassaday effect here of like
Yeah,
one of the
that's
few
great.
times he gets to draw the Flash, and he has the panel borders in perspective
Yeah.
with the building
Mm.
and with his Flash powers running. So that's very cool. But we spent far too much time on that comic.
Yeah, get out of here, Flash.
Next up, we have.
Oh yeah.
I should say I don't have the actual comic, but this
Yeah,
is from
I
the.
I didn't know you were going to do a proper flip through of all these. Otherwise, I might have set up my camera to flip through this one.
But we all get to see the glory that is this.
This is the very first Planetary story, and it was a flip book with Gen 13 number 33 and C23 number 6. And I actually had this Gen 13 comic, and I don't have it anymore. I don't know where it is, but yeah, we'll show it off here from the Absolute edition of Planetary. So this is what? How many pages was this?
Was it like 8? Something like that? It's not very long.
yeah.
Yeah, 8 pages. So this is an 8-page introduction to Planetary. Now, going back in time a bit, before Cassaday got his Dark Horse gig, he was, interestingly, he was working with Warren Ellis on a creator-owned comic for Caliber Comics, which that first comic we looked at was a Caliber comic.
Mm-hmm.
And from the sounds of it, he wasn't getting paid. And because I guess it was a creator-owned thing. So as soon as he got paying work, he just abandoned the project. It was called 6 Steel Hearts, and it would have been 6 issues, 30 pages each, and he only ever really produced 29 pages. And I don't believe any of it has ever seen the light of day.
Well, perhaps a artist edition will bring them to public view.
Yeah, his estate owns those pages now.
Well, I mean, has Warren Ellis talked about it?
I'm not aware of Warren Ellis ever speaking about it. He might have, but
It's worth asking him.
but yeah, he and John Cassaday own it, and so John
Ellis
Cassaday's
throws away.
estate, I'm sure, owns those 29 pages. I think he was pretty proud of the stuff, those pages. So yeah, maybe we'll see them someday. But aside from 6 Steel Hearts, which never came out, this is Warren Ellis and John Cassaday teaming up.
Just so
And
great.
This is, like I said in the intro, this is one of my most favorite comic stories ever. We are going to do an episode on this, and audience, it's going to be a comprehensive episode. We're going to show you the floppies, we're going to show you the trade paperbacks, we're going to show you the omnibus, the absolute editions. We have it all, trust me. So that is going to be one to watch.
Very cool.
Oh,
Yeah, so this will be a little teaser. As we show off the 8-page intro, which he did in, geez, this was 1997, I think.
No, I think it's 99.
This is 98. This is
98,
late 1998. I think issue 1 came out in 1999, but
Right.
yeah, before this he worked on Desperados, and he actually did some co-writing on some Marvel books. He co-wrote with Ben Rabb. He did an X-Men Alpha Flight two issue series, and then he also did Union Jack, was it? Yeah, he co-wrote with Ben Rabb. So, jeez.
I thought he just did the covers for Union Jack.
Nope. He co-wrote and drew them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was keeping very busy in the late '90s. But then he moved on to Planetary, and can we agree that this is that Planetary is the John Cassaday book?
No
It
question.
is the one that you should own. Yeah, for sure.
Because I
Specifically,
think there are some diehard Astonishing X-Men fans out there.
No. If you
yeah,
like
that's
his art, good writing, the history of comics, and the media that led to it, like you need this
yeah.
book.
Yeah, with X-Men, he's working with those aren't his creations. This is 100% purely his creation, based on the writings of Warren Ellis.
As we can see with the design of the drummer. Like that's him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
modeled it after himself.
Yeah, so it's like he clearly put so much into it.
Okay.
What was it? Like issue 27, man, like it came out, it ended over a decade after it starts. Like
Yeah,
he came
Yeah, it
back
was
to
a
it. He made
long delay.
sure
it was a
this is
chronically
gonna
late
end.
book for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But they finished it because it was important to them.
Oh, Jade.
And it's
Hold on a
also one of
sec.
the greatest things that Warren Ellis has ever done too. Like,
Yeah.
he's one of my favorite comics writers too, so that's definitely, one of the ones for me.
Yeah, like it's everybody working together. The colors by is it
Laura Martin. Yeah,
thank you. Yes,
that's right.
Laura Martin's colors.
Yeah.
She is just killing it the whole time. And yeah, every issue is a self-contained story, which if you like every issue being a self-contained story, make sure to pick up our very own Eric's book, Assorted Crisis Events, because you get the same thing.
Yeah, in stores now.
That's right. One and done's.
This cover. I reread this story last week, and I think I stared at this cover for like 10 minutes.
How could you not?
Yeah, this cover is
So much going on.
it's like the it's not just a teaser. It's not like a movie poster or anything. It's more of just like a textbook drawing of everything that's involved in this drawing is actually involved in the story. They're not. This isn't
In the
just
series, right?
in the series. That's right. Like it's all. I mean, the tagline for the book is "It's a strange world. Let's keep it that way." Right. And
Yeah.
it's a really
Oh,
great take on just modern the modern comics lore, comic book lore, and like from the 30s all the way till now.
yeah.
Um,
Everything that's being pulled, everything that's an influence. You like monster movies? We got one of those.
exactly. Yeah.
So right off the bat, we've got a kind of flat 1 point perspective, and then
Added
we've
Still
in.
got
Dutch.
and then
Yeah.
Dutch angle, and then we've got the same thing again, like a symmetrical point of view at a Dutch angle, and he
So it's
does
like
this a lot. Like
it's a
again,
zigzag.
symmetrical.
Mm.
I think the pattern is that for normal scenes, he keeps everything generally flat, and then for action scenes, that's when he like changes the perspective up.
Mm.
And you'll see that a lot going forward because most of these pages are just flat views of characters.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
a flat side view, and this is just a front view of their faces
Yeah. No,
over and over again.
that's a good call because it's
And
yeah,
then
because like
suddenly we get this where it's a
but
little
even
more
like
in perspective.
that bunker on the left hand page,
Yeah.
the shift is letting you know, okay, we're not there anymore. We are back in time. We're in a memory.
Even the clouds are in perspective
Yeah.
or going towards a vanishing point. But yeah, you get the flat side view. Again, this character throughout the entire thing, you just maybe not there, but for the most part, you get like just a flat view of him, whether it be a front view or a side view.
Is he supposed to be somebody? Is he based on
Thunderbolt
like?
Ross.
Is it okay? Well, actually, I was gonna ask, is he based on a creator? Like, is this supposed to be um like Stan as a decrepit old man, or Kirby, or anything like that? Because that's the sort of thing that has come up in
No, because
this Wildstorm universe before.
well, you can see the other characters there: Rick Jones, Betty Ross, and Bruce Banner,
Yeah.
Hulk. Like,
Yeah,
so that's got to be Thunderbolt Ross.
yeah.
You know, it rounds out the cast
Yeah,
for
I
Hulk.
didn't see any subtext for it being a creator, but I mean, who
It's
knows?
the only thing that makes me think of it is I think it's Miller on The Authority has a character that is that has the last name of Kirby's actual, like, the name he was born with.
Katzenberg.
Yeah, General Katzenberg, who, like, creates, a Thor analog, a Captain America analog, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't tell if this was like, is that supposed to be the same thing, or is it just a reference to all the Hulk stuff? But
Oh, and yeah, because we should say that this is in the Wildstorm universe, right?
yeah,
That's right.
yeah, because Elijah Snow is just like Jenny Spark, a century baby, a concept that I
Yeah.
really wish they would return to because it's such a fucking cool idea.
Well, it only really works in the late '90s, right? When the
I
millennium
guess.
is fast approaching, and
Yeah.
there's just millennium fever.
Mm.
But I mean, maybe not. Yeah, there are ways to make it work. John Cassaday is really good at drawing like a weathered old face,
He sure is.
just
Yeah,
with
just
a crazy amount of wrinkles. And like look at the amount of detail that is on just this area as well, and then just the lack of detail going on overall.
yeah.
So like you really zone in on on that face.
But
This
what he's
is
putting in is directing your eye too, like the
yeah,
shadows behind them. Like, okay, you move there, you go over there, and then you
yeah,
let back
yeah.
up.
It actually flows really well because
Hmm.
like yeah, you're because he's not doing anything crazy with the layouts.
No, no, because this is the height of, or maybe not the height, but the beginning of widescreen.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. This it was Brian Hitch and the Authority,
Yeah,
which was a series that was coming out concurrently with Planetary.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
They both basically debuted the same month, I believe,
yeah.
and
Yeah, Authority
both
and
like you know
Planetary, and they both had the
they're like
same.
the coolest books on the stands at the time.
That's when they debuted the new DC owned logo, where it was just the WS instead of the image I.
Yeah,
Oh,
Along with Wildcats, the relaunch with Travis Sherritt and Scott Lobdell.
I
okay.
specifically remember being a kid looking forward to that Wildcats comic. That
Yeah,
Wildcats comic was supposed to come out in December of 1998, and they specifically delayed it because in January it was now a DC book.
yeah.
But
Oh,
um, I this is interesting because this is 1998, and this sort of digital effects, this was still very new at around that time.
yeah. That's got to be Laura Martin doing that, right?
Yeah, probably. It was Laura Martin was in the Wildstorm FX department, which
Yeah,
the rumors at the time for DC buying Wildstorm was because they wanted Wildstorm's coloring department,
I buy
and
that. Yeah,
I've since heard that that is only half true.
sure. Yeah,
Like there, it is actually more true than most people say, but it's not the entire reason. But yeah, I mean, Marvel bought Malibu for the coloring department apparently, or so the rumors say, and
well, you're
DC
getting
did
the
the same with
machines.
Wildstorm potentially.
Yeah, you're getting the machines that do it too, right? Like, could Marvel or
Yeah,
DC have set up their own? Sure, but then you got to hire IT guys, and you got to find out what are the requirements, and you got to
Mhm.
find programs and get people trained up on it. It's like,
it's
no, no,
just easier to just buy it,
yeah,
right?
let's
Buy the
turnkey
setup.
this situation and just take it. Yeah,
So this is another thing that he does a lot. He loves using splatter effects quite a bit, and we'll see that more and more. And he does it in a very controlled way, where
yeah.
he uses it sparingly, but when it does show up, like it's there's no subtlety to the splatter at all. It is right there. I love the texture he has for a chalkboard. Like he really
Yeah.
sells that chalkboard effect.
Well, yeah, like his, you can see his use of texture growing as we move through these. Like, and this is a
Yeah.
great example. Like when we see like all those shadows on the bomb explosion shadow.
Yeah. A
It's
lot of texture there.
yeah, he's getting quite. It's very
Dry
like
brush?
it does look like a dry brush, but it'll be something that he clearly likes and goes back to.
Yeah. Which he's inking himself, so it's a lot more difficult to get stuff like this when you're collaborating with someone else, and you kind of have to give control away to the artist you're collaborating with.
Yeah, unless you have like a just a simpatico relationship like Colin and Palmer or something. It's you'll
So
just it would be better. Yeah, it's better that he did it himself.
these last two pages, the entire story in general, but these last two pages, Warren Ellis is also a master of how to lend captions over artwork.
Oh
Like if
yeah.
you take, for example, like the page with Hulk's feet, uh, and the captions lend themselves perfectly to it, where it says, the sounds he made, his lungs were huge, and even in rest, the noise he made was just breathing was seismic, and his muscles rasped as he moved. And all you see are his legs, and you can see his legs are like ginormous, right?
And
Yeah,
we
I
get
think,
the shattered ground.
and yeah, like the concentric. I think what makes it work is they're not showing the Hulk, right? They're
Yeah.
not showing the visuals, and yeah, you're right, Colin. The talking about the lungs, the noise the lungs make, and and all that really lends to the horror more so than if we would actually
Mm.
see the creature.
And
Yeah.
even the
Very well
first
done.
panel of the last page, it took 24 days to control him or it.
Yeah, haunting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and geez,
That final caption gets me every time.
yes.
He
Well, the final
finally
line.
died. Yeah. Well, for
Well,
me, it's he finally died in 1983.
Yeah.
yeah,
They set the date that this is happening, and it's like, holy shit, he was alive for decades down there. But I also want to bring up he is not too beholden to the situation, like the lighting situation. Um, in the left hand page there, second panel, she has the kind of bomb blast shading. That's not the case on his hand. Like
Mm.
it's not, but he needs it to
right.
be
Yeah,
read
good
as
point.
like it's a human hand, and you can tell that, so that when it transitions to the monster's hand, it's even more striking. Like putting shadow and detail and stuff into it, that's not going to work for this panel 2 panel 3 transition.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. And yeah, it's just more striking when all the lighting is on her too, right?
Yeah, and then she's dropped out completely or almost completely into just an outline.
Now, yeah, something else I wanted to point out is that you guys can believe that these are a page a day, penciling and inking, right?
uh
Minimum. Minimum.
yeah, yeah, like
It
minimum. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at this stuff, and he knows he knows how to pace himself. He's going to put a lot of effort into that, and then he doesn't have to. It seems like every page has one panel that he exerts the most energy on.
Yeah.
Like right here, he's using silhouettes to just quickly get through that, and then he's going to put a lot of effort
Yeah.
into
But
this, and
not in
then
an anchor image way.
none
No.
more so than this. Like this panel, he put a lot of effort into that, and then we have just silhouettes, and then a skeleton, and it's all pretty simple here. Some more silhouettes and just a black background almost.
And yet it never feels like cheating.
No.
No, yeah, I mean it it feels like he knows exactly how to pace himself to create a really good page, and it's just sort of like focusing your energies into very specific ways, and they're good looking pages.
Yeah, they look great.
I would kill to
And
own a Planetary page,
right?
specifically from number 16.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like
15.
I'd kill a bad person, but I'd still do it if I got me one of these pages.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a really great introduction to Planetary, right?
Oh
Oh
yeah, I was
yeah.
gonna say. I wonder if I'm sure this came in from Ellis, like the design choice of Snow. But like, how much of a gift is it for Cassaday that you just wears white? Great. Now I don't got and it makes sense that there's almost no detail on the suit, the coat, the hair. All you got to do is make sure you have it on the face, and that's about it. But everybody, him and Jaquita are like, they're pretty basic in design, which, like, great. Now I can put
Yeah.
effort into what really needs to be there, especially because they just pop with black and white, which I'm sure we'll cover more in our full Planetary episode.
Yeah, because we don't really get a lot of we get a good intro to Chiquita here, and
Yeah, she appears to be super strong, but we don't
and then
have
the
any
drummer.
idea what is up with Snow.
Yeah, Snow doesn't even know. He thinks he knows, but
Well, no, but I mean, like, does he have an ability? We don't know yet.
right,
Hint,
yeah,
he does, but it's not. It's not displayed here in any way.
yeah, yeah. So So that was the Planetary preview from which was originally presented in Gen 13 and C23.
I mean, what is
Um,
C3? What is this?
all I know it from is three amazing Travis Charest covers that
It was
started it out.
it was just another one of those, not necessarily a team book, but like a Wildstorm universe book to do with cybernetics. That's
I think
all
it
it
was
was.
labeled as Jim Lee's C23.
It
Yeah.
is, yes. I found it on booksharkblog.wordpress.com. Shout out.
Okay, what do we got next, guys?
I
Is
think
it
we're up on.
Lobster Johnson?
Yeah. This was wild.
Okay, so I don't have all 8 issues, but I only have 4 of them. But I should say that he did one short story in Hellboy Weird Tales #1, and then he also did a serialized. Every issue of the 8 issues would have a Lobster Johnson serial,
This was fun as
which
hell.
some of them would say Sunday,
Yeah.
like because they're supposed to be the Sunday.
One of them says Saturday.
Oh, one of them said Saturday, and then in the last couple, it just drops right out. Yeah, so we got Sunday. So there was some inconsistency there. Even the font is
I
inconsistent.
think that's intentional, actually. I think that's supposed
yeah?
to be mimicking the fact that Sunday stuff was just kind of like, it's up in the air. Like, if we miss it, so what? Just because it's supposed to be, what is this, 39? Yeah, like, there's paper shortages. We're not going back to press. Let's keep going.
So yeah, he wrote and drew this, and I think he colored this as well. Actually, did he? Is there credits here? Let me see. Yeah, a story and art by John Cassaday. Oh, colors and letters by Dan Jackson. So
Great job, Dan. Because this is super fun. Like,
Yeah.
it gets you into the world of Hellboy. This is what Hellboy would have been. This is the sort of thing Hellboy would have been reading.
Whenever I see stuff like this done by modern comics artists, especially like, take for example DC's Wednesday comics, where you can tell the artist working on them, in this case Cassaday, you can see his signature very clearly in the header image.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he changed his signature for it
Yeah,
too.
and he's thoroughly like researched what the Sunday Funnies papers were supposed to be like, with including the header
Yeah.
image. Everything was there was a beginning, middle, and end, even though you only had one full page to get across an entire scene. Every single one of these parts. So there's 8 parts, and every single one of these parts is complete in
Yep.
and of itself, right? That's the one thing I'll say off the bat, because compositionally, this is very much a departure. This is not. If you looked at
Oh,
this and
it
said it
doesn't
was
even
John,
look like his
it doesn't
work.
even look like it. Exactly.
Yeah,
So putting that
crazy.
aside,
Like that
it's still
face.
masterfully done, right?
Oh yeah, his willingness to completely change. I think it's on the second one. Do you have the one that comes right after this?
Yeah. Before that, I just want to comment that I love the way this gun travels. Like the action is pretty well done. This guy's holding the gun. He
Mhm.
gets punched, and the gun is still in midair. He takes this arm and then swings it back to catch
Yeah,
it, and then swings it back around to shoot him. And yeah, it's just very well choreographed.
yeah.
Which he's very good at action. But yeah, this is issue 2. So the second part of the serial.
So that middle section, far right panel, the guy in the yellow suit, like him going like, "Whoa!" the
Yeah.
that face that looks exactly like something you would find in the Sunday funny pages of like a stupid
Yeah.
gangster or something. Like he's dropped out so much detail that he is so known for, but it's
Yeah.
he's really committing to this style in a way that, like, I don't know that I don't know that I could resist drawing more detail than there should be
Mm.
for this time period.
Yeah, and just like simplifying the form of
Yeah.
the figure. Like I get the sense that he would, I don't know. He would draw the body a little more different, but yeah, I don't know, but
He would have
maybe
it
he would
melt
draw it
into
like that.
shadow more. He would, yeah, it would be all
It's just
kinds of,
boxy in a way that is not, but yeah, I'm not sure.
yeah.
But
Of all the
how he draws mouths, like these mouths are sort of like off kilter,
Hmm.
not symmetrical.
of all
Oh, Jade.
of all the stuff that we're going to look at, though, like for this episode, I think that he had a blast doing this more so than
Oh
all
yeah,
the stuff that he did.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure this was a great deal of fun for him. So I've got issue 4 as well. So don't have the third one, but we'll jump ahead because I guess it opens up where he's like looking for his assistant. His assistant has been kidnapped. So I guess in the previous one, he finds his assistant. And his
In
assistant,
a rough situation.
yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, it's pretty funny. His assistant was like tied up in a bed, dressed like this.
Yep.
But
With a ball gag in his mouth. But what's even creepier, it's creepy too though, because in not this issue, but the one before it, one of the Nazis says, "Even the toy upstairs bores me."
Well, the last. Sorry, I know you don't have this one, Eric, but the last lines of the one just before this, before they bust in. So when he rescues him, he goes, "Do you have an extra firearm on you? I think I've had time to do some thinking these last few days, and I believe I'd like to do some killing now."
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just so
that's
fun. And
really great stuff.
there's so much sexual innuendo too. Like this bomb at this angle looks kind of odd, but
Yeah.
eventually you see it from a different angle, and it's like it's very suggestive.
Uh-huh.
The device is also called like a vibrator, so
Yeah,
Yep.
phallic as
he's
fuck.
just having a lot of fun, just like with this innuendo.
Like that mask reveal, that's a face straight out of, I don't know, Gasoline Alley or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, it's such an interesting anomaly in his entire career because I do think he really loves pulp heroes,
Sure.
um, and you can see it all throughout Planetary. But
I think, like a lot of us, what he might like is the idea of them. Because if you read them,
Well,
like the old stuff, it's not great.
I think this is a love letter to Toth. A sliver of it is.
There's definitely something to that.
oh,
Yeah,
you think so, Toph?
Yeah, just look at the faces, especially towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they get quite
Um,
simplified as they go.
or just like Toph's propensity to pare back
Yeah.
detail. It is interesting because he does like his like flat 1 point perspective shots, but which you get there, but he kind of changes. Like that doesn't feel like how he would do it, but yeah, I'm not sure. Um, yeah, just
Well,
the whole
with
thing's
one
a.
with 1 point perspective, there is a limit to how how wide it can be.
Oh,
Eventually,
and
it
then it
starts
starts.
getting really distorted. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it should start curving, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he had a lot of yeah. I maybe it's the iconography of the pulp heroes that he liked more, but or maybe he really did like the old stuff. But apparently in 2019 he started working on what was supposed to be his magnum opus, which was it was referred to as a passion project about the pulp magazine stories and characters of the early 20th century.
Right on.
So he was supposed to write and draw it, and it was going to be called Mad Shadows.
Oh man.
And they said that he completed dozens of pages before his death. So I think he loved pulp heroes so much that that's what his magnum opus was going to be about.
Right on. Let's hope we see it.
Yeah, I'm sure some of it will come out somehow.
Nice Jason
Um,
Pearson cover there.
Yeah.
yes, we'll cover the Jason Pearson Hellboy Weird Tales in a future episode because I like that one. But we have a more traditional John Cassaday in Hellboy Weird Tales #1. What do you guys think of this story?
It's great. It's up to par Cassidy again. It's like, oh well, this is what
Yeah.
you expect, right?
You know, he might be the only other creator who can he's managed to make Hellboy look like he should while still retaining his style. You know? Like, well, we'll get to it, but there's a panel where it's like that's the perfect combination of Mignola and Cassaday.
Well, the Muppet. The key is the Muppet look, right?
Yeah, I guess it is, right? Yeah, he's supposed to look like his head kind of flaps around.
And yeah, he's just got like a flat lip
Yeah.
look. This is interesting because I didn't realize this was Abe Sapien
Neither did I.
until
You didn't?
well
No,
I
until he
knew
said
from the
nice
first.
outfit, Abe. Really, you knew right
I knew
away?
right away
no,
because
no,
that's
no. I
what
didn't.
Tends to do. He tends to wear a disguise.
Yeah, you're right. It should be pretty obvious there, but I guess I didn't notice.
Huh?
Yeah, I assumed it was just one of the many old men that populate the BPRD
yeah, that's what I thought
until
too.
the nice disguise, and then it like, oh right, yeah, he did do that. That's like in the first. That's in the Darkness Calls. What's that opening uh, story arc? I want to say it's Darkness Calls, but let us know in the comments below. But yeah, it's like the fake beard, the fedora. It's his go-to disguise.
Um, yeah. Yeah, Jade.
Like as I was saying, this is now what you expect of Cassaday, the modern day Cassaday. Like the
Oh yeah,
overall quality
fully
of
formed.
art. You know, it's $1 million movie budget style artwork, right?
Yeah,
Really just taking his time too. I'm sure that they were lenient with the deadlines because this is like really beautifully done stuff, especially the colors too.
You know, I don't think I don't think he agonized over these pages. Like again, what I was saying earlier, like he picks his battles
Right.
because there's a nice balance between really simple shots and then overly complex shots. And I mean, I can believe that was this like 6 7 pages. I can believe it took him like maybe a week and a half. But like right off the bat, we've got
10
a
pages.
flat we've got a flat 1 point perspective shot, symmetrical here, and then yeah, as usual, we have the Dutch angle that he's famous for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
Really,
prevalent throughout his work.
really getting that the look of Liz is the coolest '90s chick in existence.
Yeah, and then yeah, we get a flat view of Abe Sapien here, and this is a nice page design as a
Yeah,
spread
yeah,
because he starts to tell the story, and so we get present day and then the story, and then he tells the story, and then we get the story, and then the present day as it transitions, and the lighting works really well with it as well.
Mm.
you don't get
And
a lot of advice or guidance when it comes to like you should be thinking about well it's if the two pages are side by side you need to be thinking about that um
yeah,
it doesn't come up that often but when you see it man it's beautifully done.
yeah, it works really well. Um, and going back to like picking and choosing your battles, like a story is being told, and there's a way to draw this where you have a very detailed image of a dead body, and then you have an entire circus and like all the circus freaks and in the freak show, and then you have a mob of town folks. You have an army of the town folk like gathering together, and then everything going up in flames. But he zeroes in on just iconic imagery and that's being monologued about, and that's all you really need. And I should say that he wrote this himself too.
That also lends to the aesthetic of Mignola telling a Hellboy story too. There's an overall, it's not a house style, but it's just an aesthetic of like with Mignola, he does a lot of close-up shots of action shots and stuff like that. Even though this is a very, I can tell it's a thoroughly researched story, especially in terms of design for circus acts back in like the 1900s. But the way he employs it is like just one single shot of with a top hat and like the Mad Hatter character at the towards the end. It's but he's
Yeah.
got a very
Oh yeah,
accurate like a accurately drawn suit
this guy.
from
Yeah.
yeah, like you can tell he did immense research for this, but he picks and chooses how he wants to use it.
Uh, yeah. So
There it is. That Muppet face in
yeah,
the second panel in the left
Yep,
hand.
yep,
Like,
yep, yep.
perfect execution.
and I look at this page and he's repeating panels, so he clearly didn't redraw this stuff, and then this is repeated. So this is him pacing himself because the next page requires maybe 2 days to draw.
Oh yeah.
This
Yeah,
took half a day, and
yeah.
then this took 2 days. So between these, like, you know, he's. I mean, I don't know how long it took him to do this, but I get the impression that he got this done in a reasonable time because he's pacing himself, and like this is spectacular. This sequence
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, all of the one tone ghost stuff is
Yeah,
the
just
design is
Yeah.
amazing.
it's amazing.
And
And he's thinking like a filmmaker here because I mean, and he has said that his filmmaking is an equal passion, and he has directed, like he directed Joss Whedon's Dollhouse TV show. He directed an episode, but I can see that he's picturing putting the camera into this crowd and then zooming in on Hellboy. And a
Mhm.
Hellboy, the acting there is as he's being zoomed in on, he's lowering his head, and like there's a straight on view, and then this is a view with a lower head as he's like looking at this chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, and the in the next page you get a great cut between Hellboy talking to the ringmaster there. They're clearly completely different in size. Like Hellboy is already taller than most humans, but this guy is even smaller. And then, but having them on, like they're not quite at the same level, but they're looking at each other. You can imagine how that
Yeah.
would be shot in a on film.
And then this is Hellboy's view of the guy as
Yeah,
he's looking down on him, and I mean, this is such a sinister look.
sure. I mean, I think we can all agree. Anybody who truly enjoys clowns, they're probably dead by now, right? Like this is a thing of the past.
They used to be fun.
Yeah, they used to be, and
That's a
now
real
they're
clown right there, right?
just curses. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, it is interesting because, like, Jade. It is interesting because, in some ways, Hellboy works uh, generally only works when Mignola is drawing him, because um, where is this? Uh, when Mignola draws him with these like yellow eyes, he looks fun and you know not scary, but like he looks kind of sinister here. When he's
Sure.
drawn
Yeah.
realistic with no pupils and with yellow eyes,
Yeah, with the heavy brow and the short, pointy nose, and
because he's not supposed to. I mean, I don't know. I guess he is from hell, but you know, he's supposed to have a fun vibe. At least he does when Mignola draws him. So, although
I
he
mean,
doesn't look sinister there, so I guess it's how you.
yeah, it's how he's framed, how he's positioned. Uh, I don't know. Do you think of Hellboy as like a fun character? I remember hearing Mignola describe him as like, oh, he's my dad. He's a 60-year-old bricklayer.
He's a Razum
Oh,
Frasm guy.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great yeah. He's like, all right, well, I guess I gotta because it's my responsibility. That explosion of ghosts carrying him upwards, also,
Just
fucking
amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how he's being flung about, and then we get the three dimensionality of his lip because he's like being jerked around, and you see how his face is being affected by that.
Yeah.
It's
I
very
suppose that's
cool.
the only thing you kind of lose. One of the great things about the way Mignola does it is everything is so flat except for the right hand of doom, so it always pops. But that's not like nobody else is going to do that. Nor, and I don't think they should. But it's just kind of like it's a little lost, but it is notable. But then you do get things like the flapping lips and squinched up eye and just the cartoony exaggeration.
Yeah. So yeah, check out the stitching in his jacket. Like his these little details are something I really like
Mhm.
because this is detailed, and like anything with the circus is detailed, but overall the rest of the work I wouldn't call it detailed. You've got some interesting rendering. You've got some very good lighting going on, but would you call these pages like this sequence detailed?
No,
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 but
no.
again, it's going back to what
They're
you said
spare.
about picking your battles, right?
You can get away with a lot if you have a great design sense, and again, if you like choose the right moment to put your all into.
Which design sense you can learn. It's not going to be. Sometimes it comes to people easier than others, but you can always learn all of this.
So yeah, when we finally reveal Abe Sapien here, he gets really detail oriented, and you get a lot of texture in his face, which I really like.
Yeah, and you get. I really like the texture on that he does for Abe's face too. You so rarely get that scale texture on
Yeah,
Abe.
Yeah, would you?
Um,
So overall, though, storytelling wise, the first couple pages very detailed, and then the last page also the face is very detailed. In between, he kind of goes up and down, up and down. He kind of, like I said, picks his battles. what Eric said.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think he's choosing it for impact as well.
and also slowing it down that you linger on the last
Yeah.
page because it's so beautifully drawn, especially those faces, right?
Oh yeah, good call. Yeah, yeah, because he gets the three main cast.
Liz, Abe, and
So
Hellboy, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and this is another thing that's part of his style, I guess, is he loves to do these strings of hair, these strands of hair.
yeah, he does. Yeah,
See a lot of that in
like,
Planetary.
which that is how like certain people's long hair operates.
Yeah. And just to end it, he's got these the moon and star imagery, which I really like. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was a pretty cool short that he wrote and
I,
drew.
I,
Yeah, it was a
it's
beauty.
difficult. It's difficult to find a bad Hellboy story.
This book
Yeah,
overall though, the Weird Tales #1 or even the whole series, that was like can't lose. What was it? $4, 3.99.
yeah,
Like that was the cream of the crop right there.
Yeah,
$4, you
yeah.
got a
Lots of
really, really great looking book from a lot of really great creators of our time.
yeah.
yeah. We there was Jason Pearson we mentioned earlier, and we got J.H. Williams here, which is a lot of fun. We'll have to look at those more in depth in the future. Uh, but next up, we've got Rocketeer.
Yeah, and can I just say again with Rocketeer Adventures, this was I think it was a 4-issue miniseries. Again,
2011.
$40 or $4 would get you like a really beautifully made book. This also had a cardstock cover, and pinups from like Mignola and all types of modern creators that would just
Yeah.
it was like a kind of like imagine so and so drawing Rocketeer, right? And it was
Yeah,
always
which
like
in a
alien.
previous episode we covered the J.P. Leon
That's right.
short story.
Yep.
And I
So
gotta say, this is perfect for him. I
yeah,
wish we
because
had
he's all
gotten.
about the pulp heroes, right?
Yeah, I wish we had gotten more of his work on. I mean, I'm glad we got what we got, but man, Rocketeer and him, it's what a great combination.
So yeah, story and art by John Cassaday, colored by Laura Martin, letters by Chris Mowry. So it's interesting because we get a text piece to introduce it, and then we get like a pulp hero poster
Hmm.
because it like jumps right in, like it sets up the conflict in the text, and then jumps right into just Betty yelling at him.
Yeah, yeah. Setting up character like you don't have to know anything about Rocketeer coming into this. You get she's his best girl, and she's a real spitfire. That one.
Yeah. The art overall though for this story, he's channeling Dave Stevens like 100%.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could
you
read the
think so?
story with no credits and you'd be like, "Oh, that was a really great Dave Stevens story." But there are like there are some very innovative things that Cassidy does that only Cassidy can do, but just the overall aesthetic of the faces and the figures and like, the character design for a lot of these um for a lot of these panels is Dave Stevens more so than
Well,
Cassidy.
and I think
It
that
is.
goes back to the attention to detail that he puts into things like how does a leather coat fold rather than a suit or a t-shirt versus and the design of stuff. Like I know one of the things that Stevens put a lot of work into was the background research of like what's a rocket in the 30s going to look like? What are the controls going to look like? And I think you're right. He's channeling Dave Stevens here uh, in a really reverent way.
Yeah, and there is a way that John Cassaday draws technology that's very unique to him, which I see a little bit here. But he always has these it's very strange designs he puts on, which we'll see like in the Captain America. He gets to design a tank, but
Yeah,
yeah, he's got a very unique way of drawing tech. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called like ray gun gothic or something. That aesthetic.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
Ray
Yeah,
gun gothic. That's a good name for it.
I think that's what it's referred to. I don't. Viewers, let us know if I'm off base on that, but it's around that sort of design sense.
So, as I mentioned earlier, he's not super experimental with his panel arrangements. Um, he's all about grids and wide panels, and I think he's just primarily concerned about storytelling flow.
Mm,
And you don't need to do anything fancy when you just want to have the flow of the story be clear and concise,
yeah,
which he's all about. This I found a little confusing because it's a tangent. This looked like these two
yeah.
panels were together, and I got confused for a second because that is connecting with that when it shouldn't.
Hmm.
But
It
they're not
happens to
connected.
all of us, you know.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing that you wouldn't really notice until it's colored. Like in black and white, you probably wouldn't notice a problem, but because it's colored the same, you get the jacket
Yeah,
confusing the eye. And then yeah, he does this a lot where it's like the same fixed position with slight differences. I think one of you guys mentioned that earlier as one eye opens. And this
yeah.
is interesting. You don't see a lot of this where you see the eyes through the glass in the mask.
No, yeah, it reminds me of. You can see it a lot in the very first Star Wars movie. You can catch Vader's eyes through the
Yeah.
mask. They would increase the reflection after that, but it's like it's accurate, right? Well, you would be able to see it if the light is hitting it right.
Hmm.
Which again, I think goes to this is why he's a perfect, not successor, but certainly like why he was a good choice for working on the Rocketeer. That's the sort of thing that Stevens would put the time into as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't read any of that stuff. So he would show the reflection. He'd be able to see the eyes occasionally through the mask.
I don't know about specifically that, but I do know that his slow work progress was the result of just intense research into and study of how would this function. So in the light, up in the air, would you be able to see it? But the thing is too is that this is an important storytelling choice for like Betty needs to be able to see Cliff's eyes at this point.
Yeah, there you get to see the eyes as well. These, I like when he's drawing running figures and their feet aren't touching the ground. It really sells that motion.
Which is, I believe, according to oh, what is it? It's like the International Power Walkers Association. Running does include having all of your feet, at least at one point, in the air.
Oh, interesting. Like
Yeah,
that horse, like
yeah,
that
the Ed
horse
Veered,
animation.
yeah, the head Ed Veered. I can't remember his name,
Moy
but you know what I'm
Moyden,
talking. Yeah, Moybridge. That's what it is.
Moybridge.
Can I,
Yeah,
if you go to the last page, it's a storytelling tactic here where you go from the first three panels. In the first panel, Cliff's wearing the Rocketeer helmet, and in the third panel, he's not. So the transition there, rather than have him actually like go and take his helmet off and all that sort of thing, in panel two, she just says, "Take off that silly helmet." And in panel three, it's off, but you see a little glimpse of it because it's been taken off, just to show that there's passage of time there. Like that's a really great way to save time and to kind of not cut corners, but really try to be efficient in your storytelling. Is use both the dialogue and the art to pass through time more quickly.
Yeah, good call. Because it's man, could you imagine having to draw like?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, and Cassaday is an artist that's known for that. He does the whole three panels. They're all look like the same, except one subtle thing is changing per panel, right? But in this case, he wrote this story too, so it was a smart move for him to just in panel two just say take off the helmet, and panel three the helmet's off, right?
Yeah. Her arm looks just a little bit too long in that punch panel, and weirdly, I think it works really well.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, just because it gives like that kind of squash and stretch feel of like she's really putting power behind it.
Yeah, and putting power behind it is a good call because yeah, he's very good at selling the power of these punches, and
Yeah.
I mean these are clearly not the same pose at all, but he does like doing these wide punches where you
Mm.
can tell exact like that was
Yeah,
a
like the
big
wind
swing.
up was huge, and then the carry through was you can really feel it.
He's really good at drawing a punch, which is an important quality when you're drawing pulp heroes and superhero stories. And
Yeah.
but yeah, we also get a lot of like the strands in her hair that that we mentioned with that last
Yeah.
issue. Like he loves drawing these strands right there, and nice use of cartoon imagery with the stars.
Yeah.
Mm.
I always like this this blend of sort of like representative realistic art and then putting cartoon elements in there. It's always it's a contrast that I've always found appealing.
Mm.
I just before we move on, I also want to bring up just the little dust cloud that she's kicking up as she walks away. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I think it's because there's no bottom to it. It just kind of molds right into the road. But really sells the motion of her just like fuck this fucking guy. God damn it.
Mm.
Okay, so next up we have so this is actually John Cassaday's favorite character.
I can see
Captain
that.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
that.
He's the perfect blend of pulp hero and superhero.
Yeah. Cap was his guy, and he's my guy.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So Canadian of you, Colin.
He draws. He draws one of my favorite incarnations of Captain America with the chainmail. Like
Oh,
it's
Yeah, he became known for that.
utter insanity to draw every single piece of the chainmail, but he does it for his Marvel Knights Captain America run,
yeah.
which I loved. In fact, Captain America #3 is one of my most favorite covers of all time. The Fight Terror cover, where he's smashing his shield into the word terror. That's probably
Oh,
one of the
okay.
best comic covers of all time. But yeah, this is probably I would in preparation for this episode, I would say that Planetary was my favorite story because it is. But reading this Captain America story and the humanoid story coming up, I was like, oh, like it's I don't know. These were done after Planetary. I think the more he's learned and when he gets carte blanche to kind of write and draw his own stuff, he really is putting his 101% into this kind of stuff, into his later
Yeah.
stuff after having done Planetary, right?
Yeah. He cares so fucking much about this,
Yeah,
and he's so perfectly suited for it too.
yeah.
To your point about the chainmail, actually, one of the things I love that he does too is he doesn't in motion. Uh, they're not stiff, like they flap, they move with him.
Mm,
So when he like jumps through the air, some of them like bristle up against each other.
mm.
It's so great that I get why nobody else tries to replicate this.
You
It would
think?
just
Do you think that he would draw all the pages, but he would kind of just lightly pencil in the general flow, and then he'd go back and specifically ink the chainmail on all his pages?
he
There must have
got
been
to,
some
man.
kind of tactic like that to just stay on time, meet those
Yeah,
deadlines.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, he also in the pencils has to strategically figure out when he's dropping out detail, unless he's figuring that out in the inks. But I don't know because like right here, um, yeah, he's very carefully choosing like where the light is clearly coming down here, and so there's less detail, and as it gets darker and darker, it becomes more detailed.
Mm.
post planetary. I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that he figures it out in the inks just because he has that
Yeah.
experience. But
I mean, how many pages in is after Planetary and Astonishing X-Men? Like, how many pages were all those?
Mm.
yeah, yeah, it's hundreds.
And he's probably gotten into the thousands by this point.
Yeah.
But so Captain America is his favorite character, and I think his favorite collaborator was Joss Whedon, who wrote this.
Really?
Yeah,
I do
they
think
were good friends.
I do think that they had a really great creative, like, we're doing those duos episode. Like, I think that Cassidy and Whedon on Astonishing would work well for a duos episode for sure.
That's surprising. I figured you would be all about the Ellis and Cassaday.
Hmm. No, I think that, like, the Whedon and Cassidy, if you take also the Doll's House episode that he directed, I think they really did bond
Right.
creatively quite a bit, which shows itself in the X-Men run.
And you've got more variety to look at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joss Whedon wrote a eulogy for John Cassaday, and I think in it he said that throughout his creative life, I'm going to butcher this, but there's been 3 people that he's trusted completely to collaborate, and one of those 3 was John Cassaday. Like the other was an editor, and another one I think was an actor.
Mm.
But yeah, they really jibed. They jibed well creatively. But yeah, we get a lot of Cassaday isms here, right? We get the strings of hair. We get the Dutch angle.
The
We get,
cast shadow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was a commonality in his work too. Is lighting like this? Like he inked his own work, but it wasn't just black and white that he was working with. He was also putting gray down. And we haven't commented on this on a lot of the previous work, but it's in so much of it where he's either putting down pencil, or I think in an interview he mentions he uses charcoal, but you often get lighting where he's busted out a lot of gray to get a sort of gradient effect going. And he saves it for very specific moments. Like, I guess this is the one and only moment he brought out the gray. Yeah. So this is also common in his work. I think he is a filmmaker at heart, and I can see him envisioning the film that he would that if he were filming this. And this is like a fixed shot of the before and after of a building exploding, and then these soldiers reacting to it.
Oh yeah, if he's not pulling from the end of Saving Private Ryan and just dusting it with snow, I would be surprised.
Yeah. And this is an all silent shot with no sound effects. Notice there's no sound effects in this comic.
Yeah.
And very effective silent page with all this action going on. And he gets to design a crazy. I mean, it doesn't look like a Nazi tank. I guess it
Hydra
looks more
tank.
Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is, you see a lot of this kind of designs in Planetary. Like, I don't know what it is, but he adds all these like filigree. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's extra like trim.
yeah, it makes me think of like this is the tank that
Well,
Mordor makes.
it's kind of like a spider web / lizard scale aesthetic,
Yeah,
right?
spider
Like
web.
a
Yeah,
repeating pattern sort of deal.
yeah. There's a lot of that in Planetary, and that's just his aesthetic, I guess, when he's designing crazy sci-fi tech.
Yeah, because he likes the bulkiness of future tech set in the 40s.
Yeah, because he's all about those pulp heroes, right?
Yeah.
The Amerigun. This is fun where he's drawing like almost every brick, and this is an aesthetic that I love and that I'm trying to implement in my own work. That he does a lot, where there's a lot of negative space and he's sparing with the detail, but then when he finds the right moment, he just puts a lot of detail in.
Mm-hmm.
So like for instance, drawing every brick, but then surrounding it with a lot of negative space. And yeah, again, which we've seen through a lot of this stuff, where you get pages that are sparing with detail, and then that one panel with just like so much detail and so much information.
Well, he kind of pops too, right? Because the suit outside of the chainmail is not that. It's a pretty clean design, right? You don't have to lay down shadows, so you get like the gloves, the arms, the pants, the head, and then if he because he's playing with the light correctly, he can also drop a lot of detail out of the chainmail. So you get him popping against all of that brick detail.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Now you were commenting on the eyes. And like I when you mentioned the eyes at the very beginning of the episode, I was thinking of this little girl. This little girl pops up throughout most of it.
I think she's a good example of it, but I was actually thinking more of Cliff Secord. His eyes are pretty big in the
Kind of
Rocketeer one.
bug-eyed.
Yeah, but yeah, he really likes to give eyes like this heavy eye line around them. He defines the eye through ridges and shadow and stuff, not so much drawing like the structure with lines, but because of that, he chooses what shadows are going to be there so he can really draw you into them. And yeah, like that little girl is a good example of just, you know where to look.
Yeah, like every artist has a way of drawing their face. It doesn't matter who it is, but in Cassaday's case, I do think he took the entire rim of the eye socket into account when he was sketching out a face.
Yeah.
Before he actually goes hard into the eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when drawing women anyway, you got to know when to strip away detail more so than add, right? So like Eric, I totally get it when you said that this panel with the girl, her face is the one that came to mind for you. Like
well, I mean, those eyes.
Yeah,
really,
exactly. Yeah.
They really stick with you. And that's the point of this story, I think, is what she is seeing.
Yeah.
Because I guess she's seeing something that that these marketing guys aren't.
Yeah.
But going back to I mentioned Hellboy's like Muppet face, like being jerked around, and it moving in a specific way. You see the same thing with like his boots here. Yeah, it's just very well done. He's thinking of everything in terms of how movement affects it, and the 3-dimensional objects to him. And
yeah,
here's another
that's how you sell movement, right? That's how you sell movement. That's how you direct.
Yeah,
the
with
eye
all the little
around.
extra stuff you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, this page is a pan out. This page is what she sees in a slow pan out. So yeah, I think he thinks like a filmmaker. But what do we have next?
You got two more?
We have
is this chronological?
For the most part, yep.
Can we do the humanoid story last, the Huck Finn?
Oh yeah,
because it's the best one. Can we unanimously agree it's the best one? It's the best one, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the one
that washed as a motherfucker, man. It's all him.
I don't know.
It's all him, Eric. We started with a black and white. We ended with a black and white, right?
You know what? I can be sold on that.
Okay, let's do action.
So yeah, a lot of people in this comic, but we're here for the John Cassaday. Yeah, a lot of great art. I mean, we've got Olivier Coipel here. Look at that.
Oh, that whole thing, man alive, so good.
Yeah, this was a good one. They DC with their 1,000 issues, detective and action. They're really, really well put together issues.
Oh yeah. They really appreciate. Damn, these got here.
Last time they did that was the 400s with Batman and Superman 400.
So what did you guys think of this one?
Oh, it was great.
This is one of his last comics.
I'm gonna say something a bit spicy.
Hey, hang on.
Let's hear it.
Hang on. Does it happen on the first page?
Nope.
Is this just
Nope.
an overall blanket statement?
This is an appraisal of some figure work.
Go ahead.
I
Go ahead. I'll
I
allow it.
feel
I'll
like
allow it.
I feel like this may be he may have dropped too much detail here. Especially when Superman bursts through the wall. I don't know. There's something odd. There's something off about the whole design of Superman to me. And maybe I'm just used to, a more exaggerated look for Superman because he's clearly drawn him as he would appear as a muscular man, but
Yeah,
a
I got a
really
Golden Age
mystic.
vibe from this.
Yeah.
That's what I think he's channeling. I don't
Is
know what
that
you're talking
okay?
about.
I mean, okay. You know what? Now that we're talking about this, I am appraising it differently.
I know
If
you
I'm looking at
hands
it
up,
with like
backing away, backing away.
with a Kurt Swan in mind, because that's what I'm getting. Is
Yeah.
it's a Kurt Swan inspired Superman.
Wayne Boring was the best Superman artist.
Sure.
Fight me.
So right off the bat, like I don't think he likes drawing backgrounds. So I think he had to draw a city, so he just put a photograph in there, put a little bit of a filter going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I think he got away with it fine. I think it looks fine.
Do you think he did it, or do you think the coloring department did it?
Oh, I'm sure he did it because
Yeah.
so apparently he is a bit of a control freak when it comes to the vision that he has.
Okay.
And oh, definitely he wouldn't have left that up to somebody else. Like he wants it to look a specific way. He had a vision, and this is what he produced. Apparently, while he was working, he had ideas about the colors and ideas about the lettering, and he made his voice heard.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, nice little cross section of the gun.
Yeah, it looks really. I don't know a goddamn thing about guns, but it looks correct.
Yeah, and I really liked this story. It's very simple. He catches a bullet at the very last moment.
Yeah.
And she aids him in it. She kind of nudges the gun away a little bit, enough for him to grab it. But like this looks very, I don't know what it is, but maybe I'm feeling the Fleischer cartoon or something. But I just get a Golden Age comics vibe from, maybe it's his pose. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's that vibe going through this book in general, right? Like that's what Coipel is channeling. That's
Yeah.
Well, is
they're celebrating the whole history.
are the captions helping you like helping the art for you, or could you take it or leave it?
I actually like the captions because I think this really plays well with his sense of timing and expressing the speed of Superman
Yeah.
through that.
Because this is a story where I can read it. I'm like, huh, yeah, that wasn't bad. That it was very cleverly written, and
Yeah.
and it makes you think. And like they're basically trying to explore a facet of Superman that not that it hasn't been explored before, but just do it in a clever and fun way, right? And in this case, it's his powers, it's his speed, and even he thinks it won't make it. He won't make it, but then he also is taking into account what's happening, and he can also see that the girl is kind of like is throwing off the shooter's aim and all this kind of stuff. But it all happens in a blink. It's only 4 or 5. How many pages is this story? One,
It's like
two.
5 pages,
Yeah, it's
I
like
want to say.
5 pages or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
very efficient.
all of the
Four.
captions are
It's
like
four fucking pages, dude.
a femtosecond later, an attosecond
No, it's 5
before
pages.
that. It's
Yeah, 5. Excuse me. Yeah.
buys her an attosecond, like the minutest measurement of time.
Yeah, and I like the slow mo effect here of a slow zoom in
Mm-hmm.
with each panel
And
as
turning
he's getting
the
closer and
gun
closer. Like
just a bit.
this is him slowly approach or him very quickly approaching, but we're experiencing the slow-mo, and then great shot of him like bursting in. It is interesting. It has been said of him that he doesn't like colored word balloons. It's apparently what the letters he worked with knew this about him. But yeah, I guess they needed to color the caption boxes because this is a conversation. The captions are a conversation between Lois and Clark, and so at the end you need to colorize them. But I can see why you wouldn't want colored caption boxes because they can kind of disappear, which this one does a little bit there.
Yeah.
There is a danger of them disappearing into the art.
But I think like you don't necessarily need them, right? It is still the basic story of Superman is moving as fast as he can and she assists him, and in the end they work together.
That's a good point. The visuals sell the whole thing.
Yeah, like you don't get the time frame that he's working in, which is what, 2 seconds that this is going on, but you don't need that.
Eric,
you just need the basics.
hang on, who colored this one? Oh, Laura Martin, got it. Yeah, figures.
She's one of the best.
Yeah.
So he always picks the exact perfect shot, and this page specifically tells me that like this is the perfect shot. It's a downward view. We're looking up at Superman, and generally you reserve like a worm's eye view for like someone who's in command and a god essentially.
Yeah.
And then this shot is absolutely perfect. The best moment to capture this scene where he's capturing a bullet. In the mid-aughts, I took my portfolios to conventions, and I ended up getting a review with a Marvel editor, and I got the sense that the portfolio was fine, and that Marvel editor had like a list of 10 things that artists do, like, and I didn't have any of those quirks. Like I was drawing feet, I put backgrounds in, like the anatomy was all right. And so the only thing that he told me was just like, oh, work on finding the exact perfect shot. Like study John Cassaday comics. He always picks the exact right shot. And I always remembered that. And I guess my takeaway was just that, like, yeah, the Marvel editorial thinks that John Cassaday just picks that perfect shot for all action scenes. And for some reason, I always remembered that, and I just kind of associate him with that. And I think about that when I see this page in particular.
Yeah.
And another artist that picked the perfect moment is J.P. Leon.
Yeah, check out the J.P. Leon
Yeah.
short stories episode.
Two late
where we
greats.
talk about that.
Two late greats to look at for that. Yeah.
Yeah, like relatively young. Man, R.I.P.
And yeah, this is a great shot to end it on too.
Yep. Fist in the sun, ascending through his city. Yeah, it's great. And the dialogue between Lois and Clark at the end too.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that they could have done away with, to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The thing is, at the end of this is, I showed this to my wife and I was like, see, this is what I love about Superman, and this is what I'm hoping we get in the movie. This sentiment of this character.
Now you're going to get a lot of dog licking human face.
and I'm all for it.
Yeah. Crypto the Super Dog? Come on.
But Colin, you wanted to save the best for last?
I did. I think it's very fitting that, we started with a black and white story, which is very stripped down Cassaday, and now we go to this is not the last short story that he did in his career, but it's one that where he utilized, it's just him, black and white, and with ink wash this time too.
Yeah, so I should say that he worked at Humanoids around this time. So he did I Am Legion at Humanoids in the mid-aughts, and then I guess Humanoids wanted to create a superhero universe. And
Oh,
so they hired a bunch of creators, and I think John Cassaday was primarily a consultant, but I guess he got a chief creative officer title. Let me
sure. Yeah.
pull this up.
Get that get that paper, boy.
But this is an interesting graphic novel. When did it come out? 2016. So this probably predates when he was the chief creative officer there. But the idea behind this, according to here, is that it's stories about, I guess, people reaching a turning point in their lives, or things reaching a turning point in their lives. And the idea was that they got 14 visionaries from throughout the world, from manga, bande dessinée, and comics. So it's really cool. There's a lot of great artists in this one book alone. Um, where's a full list? Yeah, I mean we've got Bob Fingerman, Eddie Campbell. We've got Kiichi Koike. Man, I'm gonna butcher some of these names. We got Paul Pope and Naoki Urasawa, Boulet. Yeah, a lot of here's Boulet from France, and yeah, here we have Paul Pope,
Nice.
and I think one of my favorites would be is this one by Kiichi Koike.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with his work?
No.
Well, this one's very cool. But we're here for John Cassaday. So, right here. It's only, how many pages is this? Like 6
1,
pages?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
But two of them are double space.
Double splash. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, John Cassaday, Huckleberry Friend. A Crisis of Faith, humbly adapted from Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
This one kicked my heart in the ass.
Yeah. And like I
It
said,
was
the
great.
Planetary one I would have said is my favorite, but after reading this in preparation for this episode, this is my favorite because it shows him
It's
at
a work of art.
just
Yeah.
him, and it's everything he's got. He's giving you everything he's
Yeah.
got.
Working with gray tones and, yeah. Yeah, just beautiful lighting. The page design on these pages
Oh,
is just
yeah.
stunning.
Yeah.
And he loves the flat perspective, but just so much movement. And I love how the text is integrated into the art.
Yeah. There's nothing
There's no borders.
containing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the turning point here is that I guess Huck Finn remembers a Bible passage which basically says like, oh, if he goes and saves this slave, he could probably go to hell, but it's the right thing to do, so he's going to do it.
Yeah. Which is, I think, that was the prevailing thought at the time, and the justification.
But yeah, just beautiful. I mean, I would like to think that his magnum opus was going to look like this, but
That would
I
be
mean, I don't
rad if that
know.
were the case. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I associate he was working on that magnum opus while at Humanoids, and the
Okay.
people at Humanoids, I think, saw it. I think Mark Wade saw a bunch of pages, and
This page
so I
alone,
just
like,
think,
holy
Yeah.
shit!
Yes.
yeah,
The negative silhouette of Huck standing against Jim's head, and this is like, you don't even need words. I get it.
Yeah.
and actually, a Cassaday-ism that I didn't bring up, I don't think, is grime. He's very good at drawing dirt and grime on people and things,
Oh yeah,
which
we
you
see.
can see in a lot of the old stuff that we passed by. But
Yeah, you see it for the first time, really. The first time I noticed it in this timeline was the Planetary preview.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, really good job
Cassidy
there.
he grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, which I don't know personally, but I've heard that it's a really rough part of Texas.
Oh yeah,
It's not like it's not like it's not like Chirac, but it's got a higher than average crime rate. And I think,
Mm,
like Taylor, you were saying earlier, like the way he draws these weathered faces, I'm sure he's seen and met a lot of shit kickers in his time, which has kind of helped him,
probably.
uh,
Yeah.
you know, channel that into his art. And same with like, just the roughage, the foliage, the bayou, like for this Huck Finn story, for example, like a lot of that grime and dirt. I think that he's very familiar with it. He was when he,
Well, I grew up on a farm, I think.
yeah. So this kind of stuff comes naturally to him, I think.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's a tragedy that he died so young.
just
Of
the
But
course.
sheer, just the graphicness of this design of that last
yeah,
panel. I'll go to hell. Yeah. Right on, man. It's- this fucking rocks.
yeah, it does. Yeah,
It's a great story.
I hadn't considered what my favorite would be, but I've been sold. Yeah, this is just
Yeah.
purely on
It's
how
this, right?
beautiful these
Yeah.
pages are,
Yep.
Yeah.
and yeah, you're right. It's all him. Yeah.
Ugh.
So what? We're all in agreement that the tipping point story was was his best.
Huckleberry Friend was
Absolutely.
definitely my favorite story. Like when I saw what you
Yeah.
selected, like I was going through them, I was like, yeah, yeah, action, okay, and Cap, okay, cool, cool, cool. Planetary, and I just made up my mind. Planetary was the one because I read that story 100 times, and then I read the Huckleberry one. I'm like, no, 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 no. This was later in his career, and he's doing this, like this.
Yeah.
It's all him, and it's not just pen and ink, it's not just ink, it's like gray wash, it's all these other techniques that he's incorporating in, and he wrote it, you know it's all
Yeah.
him. So yeah, I decided that was the best one, but that speaks to his career. It's even though he had made up his mind that like this is how his so-called style was going to look, the aesthetic of his characters, his figures, his faces, he still progressed. He still kind of was continuously improving on his storytelling, on his design, on just everything, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, he's one of the greats.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tragedy, but he left a good body of work. Like I think any artist would be envious of the body of work that he left behind. Like Planetary and Astonishing X-Men, just
It
On
cements
their
him.
own. Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
on their own, that's like he's contributed two very important works to modern comic history lore.
yeah.
And then all this, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the future, I think Colin, you want to do
We're doing
some
Planetary in the
Planetary.
future. That's going to be its own thing. Yeah, definitely.
Intergalactic
I
planetary.
would also like to revisit his Marvel Knights Captain America run because, like I said, he
I'd love
draws
to
one of
read
my
that.
favorite Captain Americas. Um, yeah, so it's going to be an odyssey for us. I think over the next year, maybe 2 years, we're going to cover quite a bit of his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, which should be fun. I'm looking forward to reading Planetary again because I don't I think I read it when it came out, and that's about it. So
That's it?
Yeah,
yeah,
Ah,
what have you guys read it like 100 times?
I have.
a couple of times.
Yeah,
A couple
and
of times.
to the
Three, four.
again to the audience, when we're going to cover a comprehensive work like this, it's our goal to try to present it to you in every way it was printed. So we got the floppies, we're going to try to do the trades, the hardcovers, the absolute editions if there are any.
Well, we'll
Planetary,
try our best.
we'll try our best, but Planetary, we can say 100% that's what's coming for you, right?
Oh yeah. It's and it deservedly is in so many different not mediums but printing formats, I guess.
Yeah.
And rightly so. It's just like, I mean, look at these.
Yeah.
These
It's like, why
these
do
are
I have to
rad as
keep
hell.
selling it? Just look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you guys do any art this week?
You know I
Nothing
did.
from me.
Yes, as previewed or teased at the beginning. This is what I came up with. This is Elijah Snow, freezing Randall Dowling of The Four. I want to get the lighting right
Yeah.
here.
Very cool.
Nice.
And then, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to try just like monotone toning on the white.
Mm-hmm.
And then I accidentally backed myself into a Cassadayism with the perspective here.
Right, yeah, which is an accident.
What
That's crazy.
perspective?
But I guess you absorbed so much John Cassaday this week that it
I
just came out of
must
you.
have. Yeah, I must have. That's what happened. Yeah, no, I just
And
because you're right. Like it's so prevalent in his work that like I don't know that I picked up on it, but I have to think like I must have grabbed something from it because I was going over his pages just to get the look of Snow correct and get that stupid flight suit that Dowling wears in one panel correct.
well, I want to before we close out though, I want to drive one point home for the audience. Eric and Taylor both made it before. Is the flat or 1 point perspective flat
You see it
shot
right here.
exactly
Symmetry. He loves
like
symmetry.
of course
Mm.
many artists do it, but the fact that we pointed out that Cassaday did it and the way he does it is so masterfully, it's very important that that you study why and how, especially in his stuff.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And actually, a point I didn't bring up is that he was doing it at a time when it wasn't very common. I think the 90s brought on the image generation of things, and everything was a big, bold image and 3 point perspective and just like bombastic. And the idea of having a flat perspective or a lot of symmetry, there wasn't a lot of people doing stuff like that. So uh, he was standing out among the pack. Like he's definitely not a 90s, your typical 90s artist.
Ooh.
And
He's one of those guys that like heralds and sets the pace for what's coming.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, leader, not a follower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So I wish I could say I did some art this week, but no, I'm too busy working on assorted crisis events. My ongoing image book. So I'd appreciate anybody watching this pick it up. Issue 3 has had or issue 1 has had 3 printings because it just keeps selling out, and issue 2 has sold out at the distributor level. So that one's going back to print as well. And,
Get in on this ground floor.
Yeah, there's already 3 issues out. So
Eric, I don't think you're hyping it up good enough. Let me just tell the audience. Okay, Assorted Crisis Events is written by one of the most important voices in comics today. It's drawn by my best friend who's doing the work of his career. Every issue is a jumping on point. Every issue is like just firing on all cylinders. You don't have to have read the last one to anticipate the next one. Okay? Every story it's an anthology series. It's like, what is it? What were you saying, Eric? Black Mirror?
It would be Black Mirror if time and space is broken, but it's also if like a crisis event was seen from the perspective of a regular person, a DC crisis event.
Yeah, and
look at the work he's put into
regular
this.
people.
Look at this, the design, people, the design. And Colin and I have seen.
Yeah,
like,
we've read
the work that he was doing.
We've read the first 5 issues, and 6 is coming.
And we've seen like the breakdowns and
like
everything that he's doing to make this all fit together.
And Mark Wade, Greg Rucka, like so many important creators are talking about this book, and they're impressed by just the storytelling techniques and everything about this book. Like, this is next generation stuff.
It really is. Yeah.
Well,
get on the ground floor. Get your heart kicked in the ass by Dennis's words and Eric's art and the support of the whole team, really.
I appreciate the support, guys.
No
But yeah, I guess we can close it out after you've made me blush.
Right on. All right. Well, thanks you so much, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.